Hey there, welcome to my keto recovery. I'm going to do a review of the Lion diet that I did for the month of March. So that was 31 days in total that I did that. Just wanted to give you kind of my breakdown and my experience. So basically, the way, again, I'm defining the Lion diet is that it is all beef and just beef. The only thing that you can add to your beef is salt. Um, and the reason I got familiar with it was Michaela and Jordan Peterson, when they were on the Joe Rogan podcast, talked about their severe health issues, especially Michaela Peterson. And basically, that's what she evolved to, was doing the Lion diet and helping with those issues and with her mental and physical health. And they really helped her improve very greatly. So why I kind of did it is I'm looking for. Um, I've been on a ketogenic lifestyle for about a year and a half now, and I've had a lot of things improve, a lot of health conditions. The two things that have still hanging around, but again have improved, but I want to see if it be eliminated or even improved, is I do have sleep apnea still, and I use a BiPAP for that. The other thing is I do have asthma. Around this time of year is when it kind of flares up when we're up here in the upper Midwest. Everything starts thawing and melting, and my allergies seem to get a little more exacerbated, and that seems to exacerbate my asthma as well. That was my primary goal, is to see if there was any reaction to that. Secondarily, I am still in weight loss. I've lost over 100 pounds at this point, and but I'm probably, before I started, I was looking to lose maybe about 25 or so more pounds. So I'm getting closer, but just want, again, that's more of a secondary goal. If I did gain weight, it wouldn't be as off-putting, but that was kind of the challenge there. My macros, I actually just changed and adjusted those. Typically, on my ketogenic lifestyle, what I was doing was the traditional keto macros, which is 5% of my new calories were coming from carbohydrates, 25% were coming from protein, and 70% were coming from fat. I've upped that a little bit, so it's still 5% carbohydrates, calories from carbohydrates, and then 35% of my calories were coming from protein, and then 60 were coming from fat. So, and that was probably a week or two before I'd started the Lion diet. And was operating as well at a 20% calorie deficit. The way I ate, now I did say that the Lion diet was primarily beef and just salt. However, I did do a couple things differently. Although I will say, conservatively, my diet was probably 90% beef, 95 maybe, somewhere in that neighborhood. I did do beef liver as well, and that was probably about 3 times during the month. And the only thing I would add to my beef was salt, or Himalayan salt. The other thing I would do, there was 2 occasions I did use avocado oil to cook a steak in. So I didn't, I did use something outside, and also I did almost daily. I would say 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I did have homemade sauerkraut that raw organic sauerkraut that I made, that I was eating for healthy gut microbiome. So, so again, I guess if you look at it, I'm not a pure Lion diet, but very much so. My diet was almost vastly, the majority of it was my nutrients coming from beef. The other thing I did have as well is I did do almost daily again, a couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I dilute that in water, in about 10 to 12 ounces of water, and I would drink that. The effects I felt from the Lion diet, I felt even more satiated than I did even with a ketogenic lifestyle, especially in the beginning. And I would say that that kind of evolved later on. would still kind of feel like I could eat something later in the month. That would be, that I could have more food, but I was tracking everything and I knew I was done for the day. But then I'd have apple cider vinegar and some water, and that would dilute my feelings for hunger. As far as my asthma, I didn't really notice any change. Nothing really changed there. My sleep apnea, I'd say nothing changed. I did try to sleep without my equipment, but was told that, um, I still snored without it and stuff. But even though my sleep apnea has greatly improved since I have lost a lot of weight and maybe on the ketogenic lifestyle as well, I do still need to wear my BiPAP. So the weight loss was the biggest surprise. Again, it wasn't my primary goal, but I lost almost 13 pounds in just 1 month. Give you a little bit of feedback. Although I've lost uh, well over 100 pounds now since I started the ketogenic lifestyle, most of that weight was early in the beginning, obviously. And I'd say the last several months, I'm lucky to lose maybe 1 or 2 pounds. So going from 1 or 2 pound loss to a 13-pound loss was something I didn't expect. I thought maybe in my best experiment, I'd lose 5 if I lost anything. So other interesting thing was the first 2 weeks I only lost like one of those pounds out of those 12 pounds, but then kind of about after the 2 week mark, that's when it just started flying right off, and I was getting big losses during the following weeks. So I was surprised that weight loss was so dramatic, and I didn't expect it to be that much, but it was very interesting. Also just to kind of give you a stipulation too, and I've been doing this for several months, but I do work out about 4 or 5 times a week. I go to a gym. I'd say I do a little bit of cardio, maybe about 20, 30 minutes tops. And then I do usually a set of strength training that lasts somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 minutes to an hour. I was doing that during this Lion Diet experiment as well. So I had that going. As far as the future with the Lion Diet, I really don't see myself doing it again. Maybe unless I get like a huge long stall, maybe I'll try it again. But for health reasons, I don't really see any benefit to it. It didn't seem to improve the things that are already improved on keto, and I've had a whole laundry list of things that I've had improve with the ketogenic lifestyle. The one thing I'd say I am surprised of, I did not get bored of beef. I knew I wouldn't get bored of steak, and that was primarily my diet was beef was steak and ground beef. I'd either do like an 88-12 blend of ground beef. That was primarily what I ate. Once in a while, I do a 73-27 blend of beef, or I'd mix kind of them both together. So, but a lot of my macros were coming from protein. Sometimes I'd say most of my calories were in the 35 to 45% range from protein daily. The other thing too is I noticed I did miss the foods that I was able to eat on keto, which is interesting because when I went to a ketogenic lifestyle, I don't really miss a lot of things. There's things I'd love to have that I don't anymore, but I didn't miss them like I did when I was in the Lion Diet, and I found that very interesting. I don't. I know there's one night in particular I can think of. I've just like, I just love to pound down some almonds, which almonds are a keto food, but there's some inflammatory markers for some of the substances in almonds, and it's easy to overdo it on almonds too, which is kind of my challenge as well. So I did notice that, and then just these cravings were just kind of out of the blue. It's the stuff I didn't have on hand, so that was kind of good. But I was very strict about wanting to get these 31 days in, so there wasn't really anything that would dissuade me from doing it. And it's not like the crack like cocaine like addiction I'd have prior to keto, where I just get kind of hangry. So I don't live that life anymore, but it was interesting that those cravings kind of popped up, and it kind of seemed to be from nowhere. Like, it wasn't that I saw a commercial or I saw somebody else eating them or anything like that. It was just out of the blue. As far as Lion diet for yourself, going from keto into a Lion diet was a little bit of a jump, but I don't think it was as drastic. I would not recommend it for somebody who's going into their, if they're doing the standard American diet or any other diet, vegan, if they wanted to do that. I wouldn't go to that extreme. I would say that it's probably better to do a ketogenic or even low carb approach first. I think that's going to be most effective. It's going to give you the most variety. I could see other people getting sick of beef, but for myself, it didn't seem to really affect me. I may try carnivore at some point, but probably just on a trial basis. I'm really happy with having a lot of variety in a ketogenic lifestyle. And I don't know if I would maybe do it if I had like a really prolonged stall for months. Like I say, I'm pretty close to my goal, and I'm usually going down in weight, even if it's minuscule, but that's kind of probably the only reason I'd ever try it again. But I think if anyone's having severe health issues with certain things, obviously talk to your doctor first I, about what you're going to do. But I'm guessing if you tell them you're going to eat nothing but a Lion diet, you're going to get some very interesting responses. But if you're exhausted and you're in pain or you're ill and it's a really severe health issue that's really affecting you, it might be interesting to try the Lion diet for a little while, see if it has any benefits for you. It might not, but just from people saying that they've done it, it seems very interesting. But it's day 2 that I was off of this lifestyle, and I'm glad to have back the things I had today. And I had chicken wings for dinner tonight. I haven't had that in a long time, so it was good to kind of expand my palate and check out some other stuff. So, and cheese. I had cheese. I did miss cheese as well. That was the other one of the other cravings. So, the Lion diet, like I said, was very interesting. Great weight loss for me. But again, if it's something where you're starting out into something new, unless you're doing some kind of ketogenic or low carb diet, I would not jump into it. And you should be doing those lifestyles probably several months before you just jump to that end. So, but yeah, overall it was an interesting experience. I was really surprised by the weight loss. If you have anything to share, go ahead and do it. But that's my review.